And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're going to be discussing Snowfall Season 5, Episodes 1 and 2. If you're new to the channel, please hit that sub button. We will be talking about the show every single week. Leave a like, leave a comment, and full spoilers for our content. So, yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it and then come back. Hell of a premiere, man. Great. I know Larry, you just marathon the entire series a couple weeks back. We did reviews for season 4. If you haven't checked that out, you can go back and check that out. But just before we dig into the details of the episode, just your general thoughts on just Snowfall's back, and this is grade A television, appointment television, if you will. What were your just initial thoughts?
It was a great start, and very much in step with where the series has gotten to. Like, it's been quality since day one. Or at least I can say that now that I've finally seen the first few seasons. But it was a very strong start, and it ties up a lot of things, but while giving you a ton of new plot threads to follow.
And I love watching the character growth. Not all of it's positive. Franklin is becoming, I don't want to say a monster, but he's becoming pretty ruthless. But it's still a growth. It's still a dynamic character change where something happens to him and that affects him down the road. And that's happening to so many of the characters that it's very interesting to watch from season to season.
It's definitely becoming one of those questions of whether Franklin is, like you said, becoming a monster, or if, he's always kind of been this monster deep down and he's just kind of got the guts to follow through. Because you definitely see a darkness in him just kind of early on, where he just doesn't seem to care about most people deep down. Like, he's got his loyalty to certain people, but he just really doesn't seem to care.
And piggybacking right off that exact comment, the initial episode 1 of the season really focused on a plot about Rob and Thad. And basically, at a party, guy ran his mouth, pissed off Thad, he shoots him, kills him, and now he's on the run. And so basically, Franklin's freaking out because he's like, all right, these guys go down. They're gonna, in order to cut a deal, they may snitch. They may say some stuff they know, and then turns out in the end of the episode, when he starts bringing up, "Oh, your CIA buddy," and all this stuff, the way Franklin looks at Rob, like, well, what are you saying to this guy? But basically, he needs to clean up the situation, and it of course leads to Thad being killed, and then a very cold moment where Franklin kills Rob. My main question for you guys, because I was sitting there thinking, at what point did Franklin make the decision that he was going to kill him? You know what I mean? Like, because I was like, I wasn't sure if he had made the decision a while back, or if it was something he made the night of. Like, what was the moment that you think he made that decision? Peaches seemed a little like not sure, like what was going on. And then, of course, when he divulged it to, his crew and everything, everybody was, upset. They were just like, did it have to go down that way? Leon was like, really? And he was like, no, he was on the pipe. We didn't have a choice. But when do you think he made that decision? That's my main question. Because that sort of dictates a lot about his character. And I say that because he made him kill Thad. You know what I mean? He did all these. Now, he did it clean and quick. So, it was a clean, quick kill to Rob. He didn't see it coming. But it was cold, But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
I think he made Rob do it because he felt like it was Rob's responsibility because Thad was his person, and he damn near screwed them over real bad. And I think that perhaps someone from that party, once they start looking in a little bit deeper, that some of that may come out and may start pointing a finger towards them. Because there was a lot of people around and they mentioned a lot of names while they were all just sitting there talking. But I think that when he decided to kill Rob, I think listening to him talk in his head, he's trying to remember, he's like, this is my friend. I don't want to do this. But then as soon as he saw him pull out the crack pipe and start smoking, I think that's when he made the decision. Like immediately he was like, shit. Because he saw what happened with Wanda. He saw, all these people that basically turned his girlfriend that was his neighbor that ended up, I think she was in part of one of the later seasons, but they just showed her for a second. She moved to Texas to be with her aunt. But
Yeah, he went to like threaten her basically.
yeah,
Let her know that look, stay
but
quiet.
that's what I'm saying. The 2 or 3 people who were really close, as soon as they started smoking crack, all of their loyalties went away because they just needed money. They needed that next high. They needed the rock. And Rob, although he comes from a more wealthy family, it would get to a point where his parents would be like, why the fuck do we keep giving you money and you keep coming home all fucked up? It would have got to the point where I think he feared that their information was in danger of him just telling somebody, whether it was on accident or purpose for money. He was just afraid that everything he worked for, Rob was getting ready to ruin it.
Well, yeah, because like you mentioned, Rob's dad has some idea of the extent of Franklin's business, and we see that in earlier seasons. And I think that's part of it too. That Rob is connected to a lot of people that can connect the dots. And I think that car ride was a test. A lot of the things he asked him, the amount of time he kept him off of drugs to see how he reacted or how much control it actually had over him. Because he didn't mention the whole, his guy blabbing and Rob talking, and to Jerome when he justified it. He said Rob was on the pipe. He was on the pipe. He couldn't be trusted. He didn't mention any of the other stuff he said. And everybody in that room knows that Franklin is connected to Teddy and everything else. So it wouldn't be a big surprise to them at this point. Franklin decided the minute that he realized that Rob changed, that he'd be willing to talk or that he might potentially compromise his business.
Yeah, I think so. Especially, like I said, there were, and I like that you said that. I didn't even think of that. That every little moment on that, from trying to sober him up to on the road trip, it was almost like all a test. And maybe he was trying to calculate, can I save him or not? And once he got to the house, he made the decision no. Connecting to that, we had Wanda, and she was at the house that he was trying to sober up in briefly. She had a new profession, which brought some little comedy to the episode, where she was working an adult phone line. She quits that, and she's just trying to figure out what to do next. She goes to Leon. He doesn't want her, back in the business. So basically, what does she do? Where do you think that's going? And connecting to that, because she did spend time with Rob, do you think the Rob storyline is done? Like you were saying, Spencer, do you think other people are going to start snooping? Hey, where'd Rob go? Do you think this is something that's going to resurface later in the season as a potential problem?
I do, only because a lot of these people felt like Rob and Franklin were best friends. They were friends since high school. They've known each other for a long time. And then for Franklin to be the one to have done that, I think some of them, like Leon, may start getting afraid, because remember, Leon was there when he killed Kevin. And Leon didn't forgive him for a long time for that. And that kind of was what split them up initially. And I think that this happening could be the dividing factor between him and Leon. I also think that, his aunt and uncle are becoming a little bit more wary of him, because they see that he's trying to get out of the game, that he's trying to be legit, and they're trying to stay strong. They're trying to find their own way, but at the end of the day, I don't think that they see the same path that Franklin sees, and I think that Rob dying is going to worry everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely going to change the dynamic, and it may, like you said, just sort of hurt how they work as a group. And Louis and Jerome has already, they've already mentioned that they're independent, that they'll just buy from Franklin, that they're not part of his operation, to the point where, now instead of saying we're doing this, Franklin tends to suggest, he's suggesting a business plan to them because they're independent of him. And that may fracture things more, like you said, particularly with Leon, because, so far, it seems like he's killed his friends easier than he's killed his enemies, because we saw, what was it, 3 seasons of Franklin struggling to kill any of his enemies in this show. And
Yeah.
And then when it comes to killing two of his closest friends,
Pop.
Yeah, very quickly. Everybody but Leon so far. So Leon has to feel a little unsafe here now at this moment.
Speaking of Jerome and Louis, like, the horse scene was great. They're enjoying. They got some money now. They're enjoying life. They are also, they've saved up some money. There's mention that I think in order to get involved they're trying to buy some real estate. That's Franklin's sort of next step to his vision, and they want to bring them in, and that they needed, like, I don't know, what did they say, like 10 million or something. So we know they got some money. They want to go legit. That is something they want to do. But then we got this, we got the cop, the dirty cop, who's working with Louis, and they're doing their thing. He's gonna, I think, become a pain in the ass. There's so many cops that are a pain in the ass in this show, on one level or another. So yeah, how do you think things are going to fall apart? Because I'm always assuming things are going to fall apart when it comes to those two.
It makes me wonder when I prefaced all that by saying I think that these people are having a hard time trusting Franklin now. I think that they may preemptively strike. You look at this cop, all these people are going to start.
What's his name, Bo?
Yeah, I think so. Bo Derek. But I think that
reference nobody.
Well, we got it.
But I think that when you start putting the screws to people there, it's going to be hard for everyone to remain loyal. And now that they're all questioning whether or not, and this is me from what I saw, this hasn't been said by any of the characters or anything in the show yet, but I think that they're all questioning Franklin's loyalty also. They know that he's getting tied up with his girlfriend, and now she's pregnant, and Franklin, I think that they feel like Franklin is trying to get out, but he's also willing to kind of at their expense, not his own. And I think that they're going to start. I think that this season there may be several characters that try to throw him under the bus. And unfortunately, as much as I like Lou and Jerome, I think that they may end up being the thing that takes him down.
Well, it's a problem because their life seems pretty perfect right now. They're too happy, and the show just does not do happy.
Exactly. That's what got me so upset in the first part. I'm like, oh no, they're smiling.
Right. That's what worries me. So,
dude, Jerome on that fucking horse.
and that's how Louis will remember him, after this season, because like it feels like one of them's about to go.
No,
I don't want it either.
Yeah. Let's talk about Teddy. We'll segue into Teddy. Let's talk about Grady Williamson, the CIA operative who's working with the Saints and doing the deal. Turns out he's skimming some money. He's living a wonderful life. He's using the product. He's in a relationship with someone that's part of Franklin's crew. He's in legit business with them. They're buying property together and stuff. So he's sort of living it up. And Teddy points this out to the right person and basically is able to get back in the door. A great series of events that led to that. From the little scene in the first episode and then sort of getting the flashback of how Teddy, he went to the Middle East and or where he was in Germany running missions and helping with all kind of different things. Him and Avi, which that was. Let's talk about that scene real quick. The Nazi scene, that was great. He's like torturing this guy. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Get rid of the Nazi," and oh, that was funny. But they're all doing secret agent shit basically, and we have a really brilliant scene where Grady and Teddy have a conversation about who they are. And it's great because, we see Grady's this sort of party guy, but he knows his job. He knows how to psychoanalyze people and how people operate. And he basically lays out who Teddy is right in front of his face.
That was so good.
Dude, I mean, he was spot on. And, he's, like I said, he knows the job, and so he's like, okay, this is what you are. You're not in on the take yet because blah, 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 blah. And then when Teddy takes him out, he makes the point to be like, well, this was, because you were sloppy, not because of the insults. But was it? Teddy's always pretty cool-headed, and he's a cold, calculating character. But this is going to have a huge impact on Franklin because Teddy comes in basically declaring, I'm in charge again. Grady's out. He went and talked to Gustavo to make sure he's got his back. And now Teddy is somewhat, and he may be getting in the way of what Franklin wants. Franklin wants to buy property. He wants to go legit. He wants to transition. Teddy might get in the way of that. I know I just said a lot of stuff, so go for it, guys. What are your thoughts on the Teddy storyline so far?
Getting to learn about Teddy early on, because I went back, just like you mentioned, I went back and watched the first couple of seasons. It's not because of the insults. It's not so much because Grady is sloppy. It's because this mission is almost religious it's almost a religion to Teddy in a way. As much as he believes in what he's doing and his idea of his country and the war that he's fighting and everything. And so no one would be good enough other than Teddy, because nobody's willing to do the stuff that Teddy is willing to do. He's gone to extremes in the past to keep this going, and there's no way that Grady, or at least anybody sane, would be willing to do half the stuff Teddy has done to sort of keep that mission going.
Well, and I think when they show, and like Larry said, you look at early seasons, the effect this had on his ex-wife now and his kids and everything, that he is so almost like hyper focused on this one goal. Brian, you mentioned him being the reason that Franklin can't go legit. 100%, because who else has the control of the drugs in that area more than Franklin? And Franklin has kind of spurred out a little bit, and they focused that a lot in last season, where Louis' family down in, was it Louisiana, I think?
I can't remember,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
It's Louisiana.
Is it?
It is
Arkansas, Mississippi, or Louisiana? One of those three.
Louisiana.
But,
well, no, that's where she's from. My mistake. You're right. It is Arkansas.
But she went there, and so they've expanded some places where they have drugs being sent to. So now Franklin's got this huge fucking operation where him buying property is not really that much of a problem for him to invest. He's like, yeah, I can do that. But I think that Teddy's going to, it'd be too much of a hit to Teddy's operation if Franklin's not the one doing it. So I think that he's going to, I don't know if, I want to say hold it over his head, but almost force his hand to stay involved.
And that's,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's what was with the theatrics of showing up in his office. And
that's what I was about to go into. It was a very antagonistic meeting.
Absolutely.
And on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to try and spook Franklin, and he may have done it, but not to the effect that he thinks he did. Teddy's another person that may die this season because, as we saw, Franklin was very, very friendly with Grady, to the point where he may know a little bit more about how Teddy operates, who he is, or what sort of training he has than Teddy understands, because as we saw, there was a point where Franklin walks past a bookshelf and everything, and he's talking, he's asking if he wants a drink, and And if you look, you see there's the gun right there in the box right where he's standing.
Yeah, it was in the cigar box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Franklin may be more ready to deal with someone like Teddy than Teddy thinks. He's been out of this business for a while.
Yeah, this is 86, so we've jumped ahead quite a bit. A year or two. I just love how we have this show's so cool. Like you have the kingpin side of things with Franklin. You've got the street stuff with like Leon and them, and then you got this spy shit on the side. You got this sort of, you know what I mean? Like the show is in the way the show is structured is just it's really cool. And yeah, in one episode, yeah, you got a guy on missions and assassinating people and traveling across country, across the world doing missions and stuff, and then we have Leon breaking a dude's foot because he stole some shoes. But it all sinks in perfectly. It all works. And it's going on that. We saw some progress or some change with Leon. Like Leon is very focused in what the job is. We know he wanted out last season. He was done. And Franklin basically said, well, with all the shit that I had to cover up for you and get you out of, you're in this forever, and sort of laid it out to him. No, this is what you're doing. And Leon is now running things very efficiently, doing his job. You could say the smashing the dude's foot was over the top, but it seemed just as far as the system they have there. He could have killed him. He didn't. He's saving his money. They have the conversation about what are you doing with your money? Invest it. He's sitting on his money. So where do you think Leon's story could be headed going this season?
I think it was great that he smashed his foot. To me, you look at any mob movie or any kind of mob anything where it's either, Goodfellas, this, Godfather. Yeah, there's so many. But the person in charge, it's almost it's respect, but almost more fear than respect. So they're not going to respect him if you just let the kid go after stealing money. Then you're going to have a bunch of people skimming, a bunch of people taking money. So him smashing that kid's foot was a message to everyone else.
He could have pulled a Marlowe.
Jesus.
Start making Wire references. I won't do. I'm not going to make Wire references this season. I'm sorry. I had to make one. All right, go ahead.
I was going to make a couple earlier. But
I was too.
But what was the guy's name? Einstein? It's Leon's. I hope they go more into. I hope he has more screen time, just because his persona, the way he looks, the way he goes from analyzing shit to immediately pulling a gun out. I want more of his character. I almost want to learn more about Leon and their little crew just because I want to see more of Einstein.
Yeah, he was a welcome addition to the show last season, and like you said, you do want to see more of the character, and I feel like he'll definitely be more prominent in the show. But what his role might be is essentially showing Franklin what Leon would be if Leon, spent his money the way that Franklin wants him to. If Leon took the precautions that Franklin wants him to, and he may see that he doesn't want that, because the thing with Franklin talking about investing his money and real estate and etc. That's awfully hard for Leon to do, and I think what Leon was saying in a roundabout way is I can't really have my foot in both worlds, man. You want me to break people's feet and be an enforcer, but you also want me to live like you do.
That's true.
And those two things don't line up.
Well, and Einstein too is just as smart as Franklin was, and he showed that last season that as far as money and taking care of things, I think Einstein is going to help Leon almost surpass the operations that they had when Franklin was in charge. I think because Franklin, is going to try and go legit, but they're going to end up getting a RICO case on him. And I think that's how he's going to end up going down based off of the character he's based off of. But I think that Leon, with the help of Einstein, because Einstein's a smart dude who's also ruthless. I think that Leon's going to be a force to reckon with here shortly.
Well, yeah, definitely. And but the thing is, he may be more ambitious than that. Too ambitious to stay under Leon for long, because like we said, there's a crackdown coming, and Franklin's going to be spread thin, and chances are some people are going to need to be promoted or put in different positions, and Einstein will probably jump at that. But the question is he, if he's not comfortable working for Leon, and we've seen no sign of that yet, but if that is the case, would he be comfortable working under Franklin, or would he want more than that even? Because, as far as internally with his group, he's the only one that seems to be just as smart as Franklin is.
The show opens with the death of Len Bias. True, happened, a historical event, which was sort of a catalyst that launched sort of the war on drugs, if you will, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. And that, I'm assuming, was shown very specifically because that's going to be some shit that Franklin's going to have to deal with. And so, policies are going to be changing, and they're going to be making all these crazy laws, and that's going to affect the street stuff. And so I'm curious to how that's going to develop over the season, and how specifically, not just how Franklin, Leon, and all of them are going to deal with it, but Teddy. Because this shit's going to impact them, which is going to impact his mission. And so, well, how is he going to deal with that? Because it's sort of funny. He's working for the country, but at the same time, they're going to be doing things that are going to be affecting the mission that he's trying to do. So that particular, I'm assuming that's going to be a major component of the season as well. Any thoughts on that? It just kicked off, so we haven't got any real, they haven't talked about it much yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, for Franklin, it's not really a threat because he's so rich that if it all went away tomorrow, it wouldn't matter to him. If it weren't for, like you said, Teddy being an issue, and Teddy likely pushing him to continue or find a way around it. If it weren't for the fact that it puts Leon at risk, and potentially Louis and Jerome, there are people that are connected to him that it puts at risk. Like, now, if they went down by themselves, as cold as Franklin is, he may try to help them, but it wouldn't destroy him, and he wouldn't destroy himself to do that. But the fact that there's so many pressure from other people that could threaten his way of life, that's the only real issue. This game is no longer important to Franklin. He has so much legit business now, and so much money just sort of invested and piled up that he could go without it.
Yeah, I don't think that and that's the thing, is I don't know exactly what's going to be Franklin's undoing, because like you said, he could literally walk away at this point with this much money as he's put away and invested and be perfectly fine. But I think that somebody works as hard as he does, and in the earlier seasons, he makes a point to say that he doesn't want to be held down by the system. He wants to rise above. He wants to be, basically in control of his own destiny. He doesn't want to feel painted into a box. So I think, at what point is he going to feel rich enough to walk away? And that's the thing, is that the cocaine business is helping fund his other businesses, but at what point is he going to feel secure enough to walk away from something that's given him so much money?
And he can never be that as long as Teddy has this mission, because if Teddy's in the way, then he has to keep doing this. Then he can't shift his business elsewhere. The money has to keep flowing in. So that's why I think those two may be at odds this season more than any other.
I think that single scene with them together was a chess game, if you will. These two guys are filling each other out. Like you said, Teddy's trying to scare Franklin. Franklin's keeping calm and composed, like nothing's bothering him. When he took the lighter, there was a little bit of a message there, and you notice Franklin didn't, just like, yeah, take it. They were filling each other out, and I don't know how that's going to play. Franklin has proven many times that he can execute very complex long-term plans to take people out when he needs to. And so this could be Teddy's final season. I have no idea about future seasons or what the plan is as far as that, but just focusing on this season. Yeah, I don't know, man. This could be it for Teddy.
I mean, I can tell you a little bit, but only because when I started watching this show, I looked into the real life person he's based off of. But,
what year did he go to? Its stuff go down.
like 89.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
We'll get a couple more seasons then, maybe.
It's based off of Freeway Rick Ross.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Ross.
Yeah.
But they're tying in a lot of the other, not conspiracy theories. Like, it's been put out there that the CIA was using drug money to, fund.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's
So this has all been confirmed at this point, but
Mm-hmm.
they're tying a lot of the stories together because it's almost like they do go together. So it's may not be too much of a conspiracy theory as much of just
that's why
reporting facts.
We knew that reporter was in trouble last season because we were like, these reports didn't come out till the 2000s.
Yeah.
So
They're like, oh, he's just died.
It's like 84, and she's talking about, I'm gonna expose him. I'm like, I don't think
that didn't happen.
So yeah, that was pretty much the first two episodes, starting off super strong. Very excited for this season. This is going to be a treat every single week. Any final thoughts on the Snowfall season 5 premiere?
Other than it's going to be a fun ride, I don't have any other thoughts. I'm just really looking for. We always praise how well written this show is, and how bad some other shows are written. This is just. It's not a mystery, but each episode you're waiting for the next one to come out because you want to know the outcomes of these characters and what's going to happen. So I'm really looking forward to this season as well.
Only thing I can think of is, I wonder if there's any potential that that Teddy might have more issues fitting into the role that he previously had, because Grady has his person that he buys from and everything, and are the people that Teddy used to work with even still around, or did Grady document any of this? And it feels like an in for him in another way also, because he's no longer going by what was his Reed. Yeah, he's no longer going by Reed. He's just using his actual name for it.
Yeah, he's like, call me Teddy.
He's decided this is who he wants to be. So it almost becomes also is like, is this who you are deep down? You're this drug lord. This is what you really want to be.
I think it's going to be interesting. A lot of that I think is going to tie into Gustavo. Whereas depending on how Teddy played, like Gustavo's living his life, things are, we saw him a couple times. Life's nice and good. He's got the kids. He's doing his thing. So he's not going to want anything screwing any of that up either. So I'm curious to, he didn't give a shit about Grady, but, yeah, like, is Teddy going to cross any lines with him, I wonder? There
was a mention of a certain character, that you brought up quite a bit during our last few reviews, Spencer, that could actually make some waves between them. Because he mentioned, Gustavo mentioned that Lucia, I believe, didn't he say she was in Miami, that he tracked her there, but, he didn't care to go, that he realized his family is here and everything. Now, if Teddy does some digging, if Teddy is having problems finding a supplier, and if Lucia looks like she can be a supplier or aid Teddy in any way or motivate Gustavo, that would likely be crossing the line with Gustavo.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where Gustavo is made everyone aware of where his lines are, and I feel like Teddy knows it, but it's not that he doesn't care, it's that his mission comes first. So if it ever starts to be where he's not getting as much, I don't know, cocaine and money being sold from Franklin, he is going to look at other sources. I think, although he'll look locally first, I think he'll hit up Louis and Jerome first, and then maybe reach out to, I don't want to say Leon, but Leon. I think he'll end up being Einstein, but he'll reach out to them. But, he expanded into, because last season he was talking about Kansas City. He was talking about, Little Rock, Arkansas area. He was also talking about, was it Ohio? Couple other places that he was talking about on the East Coast, New York. But he knew that he was trying to get those middle of the road kind of cities, because he understood that New York City was already getting stuff. Miami was already getting stuff, but he was like, but what about the rest of the Midwest? He was like, they don't have it. Let's get them some. And he started trafficking it out that way. So Teddy's going to be hurting if he can't find a way to sell something. So I am curious as to who his next target would be.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Episodes fly by, man. I love I love this show. We posted our Big Sky review, and I said in that review I watched all them back to back, and my God, the difference in writing, it's radical. But yeah, Snowfall season 5, episode 1 and 2. Fantastic. As I said, we will be reviewing this show every single week, so look out for those reviews. Check out other content on the channel. We got Raised by Wolves, Righteous Gemstones 1883 finale reviews will be going up sometime in the next couple days. We got Big Sky, Big Sky. So yeah, appreciate everyone listening, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay woke.